The first time I saw her, she was standing in silence while an entire battlefield bowed. Not out of respect, out of fear. Her name, as I would later learn, was Zyrathale, Queen of the Virex Dominion, ruler of 7 conquered systems and the most dangerous being humanity had ever encountered. Her species didn't negotiate. They didn't warn. They arrived, they studied, and then they erased. I was never supposed to meet her. I was just a systems engineer aboard the research vessel Eidolon, orbiting a dying star on the outskirts of known space. Our mission was simple: analyze anomalous energy signatures. We thought it was a rare stellar phenomenon. We were wrong. The anomaly was a gateway, and through it came her fleet. The invasion lasted less than 6 hours. Their ships didn't fire weapons the way we understood them. Space itself bent around their constructs, collapsing into crushing waves that tore through our defenses. Our comms went silent. Our weapons became useless. By the time we realized we were under attack, half the crew was already gone. I survived by accident. A power surge knocked me unconscious in engineering. When I woke up, the ship was no longer ours. The corridors had changed. Organic structures pulsed along the walls, replacing metal with something alive, breathing, shifting. It was as if the ship itself had been claimed, rewritten by an alien will. And that's when I saw her. She stood at the far end of the command deck, surrounded by her soldiers, tall, armored beings with elongated limbs and glowing eyes. But even among them, she was unmistakable. She was taller, more refined. Her armor wasn't just protective, it was regal, almost ceremonial, shimmering with deep violet light. And her eyes, they burned with intelligence. She turned her head slightly and looked directly at me. I should have died right there. Instead, she raised a hand. Everything stopped. Her soldiers froze. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. "Bring him," she said. Her voice wasn't spoken. It resonated, vibrating inside my skull. I tried to run. I couldn't. Something invisible wrapped around me, lifting me off the ground and pulling me toward her like gravity had chosen a new center. I was dropped at her feet. "Human," she said, studying me. "You remain." I wasn't part of the fight," I stammered. "I'm just an engineer." Her gaze sharpened. "Then you will be useful." That was the beginning of my captivity. But it wasn't what you'd expect. I wasn't tortured. I wasn't thrown into a cell. Instead, I was assigned. The Virex had a problem. Their gateway, the anomaly they had used to enter our system, was unstable. It flickered unpredictably, threatening to collapse. And for reasons they didn't fully understand, their technology couldn't stabilize it. But ours could. Specifically me. I spent weeks working under constant surveillance, surrounded by alien technology that defied everything I knew. They gave me access to tools, data, even parts of their systems. And she watched. Always watching. Queen Zyrathale would appear without warning, standing silently as I worked, observing every movement. At first, I thought it was intimidation. Then I realized something else. She was curious. "You are inefficient," she said once, as I recalibrated a resonance field. "I'm improvising," I replied. "Your tech doesn't exactly come with a manual." "You adapt quickly," she noted. "Faster than expected." Is that a compliment? It is an observation. But there was something in her tone. Something softer. Over time, our interactions changed. She began asking questions, not just about the work, but about us. Humanity. Our motivations. Our history. "Why do you resist?" she asked one day. "Your species is outmatched." "Because it's our home," I said. "You don't just give that up." She considered that. "For us," she said slowly, "home is where we choose to expand." That's not the same thing. No, she agreed. It is not. I should have hated her. She had destroyed my ship, killed my crew. But the more I spoke with her, the harder it became. Because she wasn't cruel. Not in the way I expected. Everything she did was illogical, calculated. Even the invasion in her mind was simply a necessary step for survival and growth. Her species didn't see themselves as villains. They saw themselves as inevitable. And somehow, in the middle of all that, she began to change. It started small. She stopped bringing guards when she visited me. Then she stayed longer. Then she began sharing things, fragments of her past, her responsibilities, the weight of leading an entire species. Power, she once said, is isolation. I looked up from my console. Welcome to leadership, I said. She tilted her head. You understand this? More than you think. And for the first time I saw it. Not a queen. Not a conqueror. Just someone tired. I don't know when it happened. When curiosity turned into something else. When the tension between us shifted. But one night, if you could call it that in a place without a real sky, I felt it. She was standing closer than usual. Watching me. Not analyzing. Just watching. You're different, she said quietly. From what? From what I expected of your kind. Good different or bad different? She stepped closer. Unclear. Our eyes met. And in that moment, something changed. Something dangerous. It shouldn't have happened. There were 1,000 reasons why it couldn't. But none of them mattered. Because in that moment, we weren't enemies. We weren't human and alien. We were just two beings, standing too close, feeling something neither of us fully understood. Her hand reached out, paused, then touched mine. It was warm, alive. And for a second, the universe held its breath. We kept it secret. We had to. If her people found out, it would be seen as weakness. A flaw. Something to be eliminated. If mine ever knew, I wasn't even sure what they'd think. But it didn't matter. Because it was real. And for a while it felt like maybe, just maybe, there could be something more than war. Until the day everything fell apart. I knew something was wrong the moment I entered the lab. The guards were back. And not just guards. Commanders. High-ranking Virex officials stood around the central console, their expressions unreadable. And in the middle of them, her. Queen Zyrathale. But something was different. She wasn't looking at me the way she used to. Her eyes were cold. Furious. You deceived me, she said. The words hit harder than any weapon. What? I said, confused. No, I didn't. You altered the gateway stabilization matrix. My stomach dropped. They knew. I had been trying to sabotage it. Subtly. Slowly. Buying time for Earth. For anyone who might still be out there. I had to, I said. You're invading my world. What did you expect? I expected honesty, she snapped. From a prisoner? From you. That hurt. More than I expected. The room trembled. Not from damage. From her. Her power surged, distorting the air around her. The organic walls pulsed violently, reacting to her rage. You were different, she said, her voice shaking with something more than anger. I believed. She stopped herself. Her expression hardened. I was wrong. The commanders stepped forward. Queen, he is compromised, one of them said. He must be terminated. I didn't resist. I couldn't. Not because I was afraid, but because I was looking at her, hoping, stupidly, that something of what we had still mattered. Her hand rose. The same gesture she had used the first time we met. The one that decided life or death. The room went silent. Do it, one of the commanders urged. Her eyes locked onto mine. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The war. The lies. the impossible line between us. And then she made her decision. Leave us. The commanders froze. Queen, that was not a suggestion. Reluctantly, they withdrew, leaving us alone in the trembling chamber. Why? She asked quietly. Because I had no choice, I said. You're destroying everything I care about, and you think deception will save it? I think it might buy time. She stared at me. And what about us? I swallowed. There is no us. Not really. The words felt like knives, but they were true. Silence stretched between us. Heavy, painful, final. Then she stepped back, and for the first time since I had known her, she looked like a queen again. Not the curious observer, not the conflicted being, but the ruler of a conquering empire. You will complete the gateway, she said. And if I don't, her eyes burned. Then I will. I knew what that meant. She didn't need me anymore. And whatever we had was over. But as I turned to leave, she spoke again. After this, you will be returned to your people. I froze. What? This conflict will continue, she said. But you will not be part of it. Why? She hesitated, just for a second, because I choose it. I never saw her again. The gateway stabilized. The Virex fleet moved on. And somehow, Earth was spared. For now. Years later, I still think about her, about what we almost had, about the impossible line we crossed, and the one we couldn't. History will remember her as a conqueror, a destroyer, a queen of fury. But I remember something else. I remember the moment she found out, and the fury that followed, not just because of betrayal, but because, for a brief moment, she had allowed herself to feel something she was never supposed to. And in the end, that was the most dangerous thing of all.